Good morning. I call to order the September 19th, 2023 meeting of the Saline County Board of Commissioners, and I would ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Commissioner Shadwick?
Here.
Commissioner Vidrickson?
Here.
Commissioner Sparks?
Here.
Commissioner Weiss?
Here.
Commissioner Hay?
Here.
I ask that you please stand and join me in a flag salute, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We now move to the public forum portion of our meeting where citizens may speak on county government, usually limited to 3 minutes and pertaining to items that are not on today's agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the commission? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission, and we will consider the consent agenda for today, which is approval of tax roll adjustments, approval of accounts payable, approval of the public forum agenda, approval of appointment of Jaylee Morgan to the Smolin Township Treasurer position, appointment of Mayo Morgan to the Smolin Township Trustee position, approve the annual Central Kansas Regional Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant contract for the fiscal year 2024, and approval of the annual WIC grant contract for 2024. Are there any items that commissioners wish to discuss or pull from today's agenda? If not, I would take a motion.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve today's consent agenda. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We will move right into the action items for today, and item number 1.
Mechanic hiring incentives with Marilyn Leamer, Human Resources Director, and Darren Fischel, Road and Bridge Administrator.
Good morning, Marilyn. Good morning, Darren.
Morning, Commissioners. So this request is we are continuing to have some challenges in hiring mechanics. One of the two positions was vacated in August of 2022, so we're over a year with one of the positions vacant, and then we just recently lost the other one, leaving us with no diesel mechanics for the position. We already have the authority to hire within the salary range based on the qualifications of the individual, but we're wanting to request some incentives to try to get some qualified applicants. With one of those being a $2,500 hiring incentive with 25% of it payable every 3 months. And then offer a $2,500 tool allowance paid in monthly increments over the first year of employment. If the employee would leave during that time, they would be subject to repayment of the incentives paid. So the alternatives for action are to approve the request, do not approve the request, or delay any decision and request additional information. We would like you to approve the request for a period of 1 year, just in case we're not successful in finding qualified candidates. The budget impact for this would be $10,000 for the two positions. And I've got Darren here to answer any other questions as well.
All right, I'll start to my left. Commissioner Sparks, you have any questions?
Nope.
Mr. Hay?
I just got one. Have you contacted the Saline Tech and talked to any of the, positions that they've got, some of the diesel mechanics they got coming up, getting ready to graduate or anything, to see if there's anything we could do to entice some of those people?
We do post in those vocational schools, and actually we lost our most recent one to Saline Tech.
Okay.
Commissioner Shadwick?
I appreciate you thinking about the incentives as opposed to just raising everybody's pay. I mean, this is what people all over the country are doing, and I appreciate it and I support it. So,
Mr. Weiss?
Quick question, what is the salary range of the mechanic position?
Minimum is $20.13 an hour up to the maximum of $30.33. Annually, $41,870 to $63,086.
And the fair market?
Is usually right about in the middle there.
Okay.
And if I'm looking at this correctly, we have 3 positions for mechanics out there, of which 1 is filled right now?
Two,
Just 2 positions?
and both are vacant.
So we have no mechanics right now?
We have a mechanic welder.
Oh,
Does
okay.
a little bit of mechanic work and
And
welding.
the tire guy.
And then
Currently, the crews are repairing their own equipment under the tutelage of the shop services manager. So when something breaks, they bring it in and fix it, which,
Okay, I agree with Commissioner Shadwick's comments that outside the box, we've got to do something. I know what some of the repercussions are probably going to be if this goes through, but we've got to do something. Is there any public comment?
Norman Mantle, Saline, and inflation, $30 an hour ain't gonna get it. If you factor in inflation, these guys should be making $43 an hour. If you factor in inflation from years ago, what stuff costs and what it costs now, you're not even close. You're not gonna get any help. I go for more money.
Anyone else? Further discussion from the commissioners? If not, I would take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve RFA 2023-189 as presented.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-189. Further discussion? All of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Item number 2.
Truck purchases with Darren Fishel, Road and Bridge Administrator.
Good morning again, Darren.
morning. This request for action is to purchase one new Ford F-350 4x2 crew cab chassis and one new Ford F-350 4x2 regular cab truck. These vehicles were located using a combination of internet websites and Ford's dealer inventory search and direct quotes. We have looked for new and used trucks in the local market. Bids were sent out in 2 separate occasions, once on 11/19 of 2021 and 11/23 of 2022. We received no bids from any dealerships for these lettings. There are 2 trucks at a dealership in Peoria, Arizona. Long MacArthur Ford has provided quotes for these trucks as well, prices with delivery. Home Chevrolet and Marshall Motors were also contacted and elected not to quote the vehicles. PVFT Motors of LLC has a Ford F-350 crew cab chassis. It year is 2022 for $56,904. They also have a Ford F-350 regular cab. It's a 2023 for $51,485. Long MacArthur Ford quoted the Ford F-350 crew cab chassis, a 2024 of $49,910.64. They also quoted the Ford F-350 regular cab 2024 truck at $45,385.64. The alternatives for action would be to accept the quotes from Long MacArthur Ford for the 2 trucks in the amount of $95,296.28. Accept the quote for the F-350 regular cab in the amount of $45,385.64. Accept the quote for the F-350 crew cab chassis in the amount of $49,910.64. Accept the quotes for the 2 F-350 trucks from PVFT Motors LLC for $108,389, which is trucks on the ground. 4, reject the quotes and direct staff to an alternative course. Staff recommends purchasing the 2 trucks from Long MacArthur Ford. The purchasing trucks and vehicles under normal process of bid and award has not been successful as of late and left us struggling with aging equipment, repairs, and alternative sources of purchasing. Delivery times for these vehicles is approximately 4 to 6 months. This still utilizes local preference and communication with local entities. They have explained to me that 2024 fleet vehicles need to be ordered in September to October timeframe in order to ensure the vehicles are on the 2024 production run that starts at the 1st of November 2023. The 2 trucks to be replaced have outlived their service life in their current assignments. We typically purchase the crew trucks with the service body already installed. They're going to attempt to get 2 service lives out of the truck body by installing the old one on the new truck. This will save a considerable amount of money. We would be purchasing these trucks under the exceptions to competitive purchases policy of the Saline County Purchasing Policy Number 4, which states, in practical situations, when competitive purchasing is not practical based upon timing, performance, or other relevant circumstances, and approved by the County Administrator's Office. The budget impact is the money to purchase these trucks will come from 2 separate accounts. One, the 2023 Road and Bridge 011 capital outlay line item, which has an unencumbered balance of $60,190. The purchase of the truck would leave a balance of $14,804.36. The Road and Bridge special equipment account, the unencumbered balance is $2,170,820.59. Would leave a balance of $2,120,909.95.
Commissioner Weiss, any questions?
A couple. The two-door cab, what truck is it replacing?
It is going to replace one of the, we call them fuel trucks. We have a truck that each crew uses that has a fuel tank in the back of it that is under the limit for hazardous materials, and they haul diesel to the equipment.
And I see there's no trade-in allowance on these. Are you looking to keep them in the fleet in another purpose, or put them on Purple Wave, or what's your?
The crew truck is going to replace a 1992 Ford F-250 that we call the jump truck, and it has a battery pack and motor in the back of it that we jump vehicles with in the winter. And then that 1992 truck will be sold on Purple Wave. The cab chassis, crew cab truck, since we're going to take the box off of it and put it on the new truck, that truck would be sold on Purple Wave, the chassis.
Commissioner Monty Chadwick, any questions?
No.
Commissioner Hay?
No, sir.
Mr. Sparks?
Yes, and prior to this, where we have went out for bids in 21 and 22, so those must have been budgeted in 21 and 22 to replace these, to go out for bid.
Yes.
What happened to the dollars that were in those budgets?
They were spent on something else. We moved something else up within our equipment improvement program. I couldn't tell you exactly what they purchased, and then if there was any left, it rolled over into our equipment.
On the Purple Wave, the dollars that these trucks would bring in, where would that money go? Would that go back into what line item?
That would go back into our special equipment account.
Okay.
We roll over leftover dollars from our 011 budget every year, and then anything that we get received from Purple Wave into that account.
Why is this considered an exception to the competitive purchase policy?
In practical situations, we don't typically take direct quotes from dealers. We usually, the standard procedure is to send out for bid and award.
In other words, rather than put this on the internet or ship it out somewhere, you contacted these people direct, and that makes it
An exception.
exception?
Yes.
Also, the special equipment account, it's got $2,170,000 in it.
Yes, sir.
And we're getting close to the fourth quarter of the year. Is that our motor grader purchase?
It is.
Why is there so much money in there?
There is dollars in that. $1 million is what I call our unencumbered balance, or unencumbered, or what I, yes.
Savings or, emergency?
Yeah, reserve. And then the other dollars are just what we roll over into that for leftover monies. And then I believe this next year, in 2024, we're going to be using a lot of that money to purchase equipment.
I'm sure you hear it too. I hear it from the public. Why do we have so much money in these accounts? And then, we borrow from one account to pay the next and so forth. And their perception is that we've got too much money stashed away. So, all right. Is there any public comment regarding this RFA? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the Commission for action. Looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we approve the truck purchase 2023-179.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-179. And I will go for some further discussion to it a little bit. And all of this is preemptive of the automobile strike that's going on now. So hopefully we're going to get these things in 4 to 6 months or whatever. And I assume that they will honor their price. So we'll go from there. All right. I will ask for a vote then. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
The motion passes 4-1. I believe it was Commissioner Sparks who said nay. We will go to item number 3.
Exterior electric improvements for barn 1 and 2 with Hannah Bett, Deputy County Administrator.
Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, Commissioners. So during the evaluation and design for the new siding for barns 1 and 2, we kind of discovered some issues with the exterior electric lines and connections to the building being in poor shape, undersized, and in need of quite a bit of attention. So staff worked with Hutton to develop appropriate specifications to correct some of those deficiencies, and bids were opened on September 19th with one bid being received from DRCL Electric in the amount of $54,550. Your alternatives for action today are to award the bid for electrical improvements to DRCL, or do not award the bid and provide staff with further direction. Our recommendation is to award the bid so these electrical improvements for barn 1 and 2 can be done around the same time that the new sidings for the barns are going in as well. So these particular repairs and improvements for the exterior electric are not something that's part of the minimum maintenance and improvement items as it relates to our agreement with the city of Salina. However, these improvements are necessary to ensure the safety and appropriate capacity and operation of these 2 particular buildings. This project was also not anticipated as related to the budget earmarked in CIP for Expo improvements for 2023, but there are sufficient funds in CIP to cover the cost. So the current balance of CIP is just a little over $6.4 million, and there's $2.4 million that's identified in projects already for 2023 that have yet to be completed. Which leaves just more than $3.9 million that can be used to cover the additional cost for this particular project. So just a couple weeks ago, when the bids were awarded for the siding for barns 1 and 2, staff had mentioned that there's been a couple of unexpected costs that have surfaced during our process of making these different improvements. This is definitely one of them, but the improvements to the exterior electric for barns 1 and 2, they weren't expected, but it is necessary to do to ensure the overall safety of this facility.
Okay, I'll start with Commissioner Shadwick. Have any questions?
I do not.
And Commissioner Weiss?
One quick one, refresh my memory, Hannah. Before any work was done, there was an assessment that we had done of needs that had to happen. Why wasn't this addressed at that time?
So this was one of those that was addressed,
Okay.
but it wasn't something that we put on the top priority list. This was one of those things that we identified as county needs. We were wanting to focus on the city aesthetic requirements first.
I appreciate that answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Sparks?
Quick question, when we was putting in the new windows in Ag Hall, and we had to pull down the power lines and move a lot of that away from that at that time, it just kind of scares me here that at that time we didn't recognize this and address it at that point, to sit back and say, okay, yeah, we're going to need to do this, let's get it done then.
So this kind of goes back to Commissioner Weiss's question. So during that same time, this is when a lot of this stuff was kind of realized. When we did the windows on Ag Hall, that's when we realized that that pole is going to need to be replaced, but we put it off because, again, it wasn't something that was on the higher of the priority list. So when we were going through everything as far as the electrical connections and whatnot, noticed some things on actual barns 1 and 2 that kind of elevated this to the need that it is today.
Okay, and with the improvement of this and moving this power, that power line off of barn 2, that's the one that is leaning right up against the barn, so we have to move that pole to put new skin on.
Correct.
When this is all done and the new poles, is Evergy installing the new poles and the transformers, and we're running new power down to these barns?
So the actual design of this actually eliminates some of those poles, if I'm correct. I'm sorry, I've got Justin May with Hutton that he can maybe explain the design piece of it just a little bit more.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct. So the
Please
office.
state your name,
Oh,
sir,
sorry.
for the record.
Good morning, Commissioners. Justin May with Hutton. So previously, Ag Hall Barn 1, the office, and Barn 2 were all fed from 1 meter from Ag Hall. So as we planned on the future projects, trying to figure out when these switches should come over and if they are required. So that's and David kind of wanted to first meter the office building by itself, so that got removed from Ag Hall, a new transformer to that building. So the 2, Barn 1 and Barn 2, were still fed from Ag Hall with the overhead power lines. So that's kind of where we try to maneuver this project, and if it's a really requirement and a need, after talking with Evergy, if these poles need to be replaced, they won't do it because it doesn't meet code. So then we would have to remove and replace a pole with the county's money, and it'd still not meet code. So the new project, so Evergy's going to set a meter, overhead power to each pole or a building, and we'll eliminate all the overhead lines and the 2 poles that are next to the office building and the one leading on Barn 1. So just a strategic planning and when that really should happen and how it should come forth. So hopefully that answers your question.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Adrian?
No, sir.
Not necessarily pertinent to this RFA before us, Hannah. Where are we at in this whole project, percentage-wise? Give us a guess. I won't hold you to it, but I mean, are we 50% of the way done? 80%? Where are we at?
Well, we are in year 3 of 5, so we've still got 2 more years left to complete the rest of the stuff. But I guess my question would be, are you talking just the stuff for the minimum maintenance for the city stuff, or are you talking our entire
I'm
list?
talking about our obligation to the city of Salina. That's what you're right.
Okay, yeah.
That's my question.
A good guesstimate, I would say, is probably about a good 70%.
Of what they required. And we're doing other things on top of that.
Yes.
As everyone should know.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment regarding this RFA? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for action, please.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve RFA 2023-187 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-187. Further comments? If not, all of those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. That concludes our action items for today. We'll move into the informational portion of our meeting. Item number 1.
Community Corrections Department update for September 2023 with Michelle Callum, Community Corrections Director.
Good morning, Michelle.
Morning, Commissioners. I have asked our newest staff member to come to the meeting with us today. This is Crenshaw. He is our certified service dog that we got in June. He was matched with us by CARES and Concordia. Crenshaw is making a huge impact in our office, in the courtroom. He goes to drug court every day. He has had interactions in our office with clients who are upset about things. He went to Ottawa County with us one day to meet them and interacted with a victim of a violent crime and was, I think, very helpful to her. She was an 11-year-old little girl. So Crenshaw has made an impact with us. And I wanted to share him with you today. So we have two of my staff members. Andrew Pellant is his primary handler, and he lives with Andrew in his apartment. And then Brian Besser is the backup handler. Both Andrew and Brian went through a week of training with CARES when we were matched. And interestingly enough, you don't get to pick your dog. You don't get to pick your dog's name. You don't get to pick anything about the match. You go there and find out who your dog is. And I can honestly say they could not have picked a better dog for our agency than Crenshaw. His litter is named after Navy SEALs. So Crenshaw is actually named after U.S. Congressman Dan Crenshaw, who is a decorated Navy SEAL. So there was a whole, they take the litters of dogs and they determine if they're going to be a medical alert dog or a service animal. And we have a service dog, but Crenshaw's brother, Morgan, is a medical alert dog. And so he lives with a girl who has heart issues. And so it's a really interesting process. Crenshaw spent 6 months at the Ellsworth Correctional Facility, so kind of another connection because we were both part of the Kansas Department of Corrections. So Crenshaw spent time being raised as a puppy in Ellsworth Correctional Facility, and he had 2 handlers there that teach him a variety of commands, and then he goes and becomes a service dog with Sarah at CARES. So he's an incredible match for us, and I just wanted you guys to meet him. He's been going to drug court for the last 3 or 4 weeks. We got permission from Building Authority to bring him, so it's been a great experience for our staff and our clients alike. He's very calm. I have 2 dogs at home and they don't act like this. So
Where does Crenshaw live?
he lives with Andrew, and Andrew happens to live in an apartment in Manhattan. So
Okay.
he goes back and forth every day. So he's used to riding in the car, and he comes every day to work. And one time Andrew called in sick, and everybody was mad that Crenshaw wasn't at work, and nobody cared that Andrew didn't come to work, from what I could tell. So the days that Crenshaw can't be with us are sad days for us, so we get kind of used to him being around.
You've answered my question, and that is who named that dog? You know, it must have been a golfer, because I'm hearing golf names come, Ben Crenshaw, and so.
Yeah,
That's
no.
first dog I've ever seen named Crenshaw.
Yeah, the
right.
CARES names their litters after, they have a theme. There was, there was a group of them that were named after balls. So there was like wiffle and, I don't remember.
I don't remember all of them. Wiffle one sticks out.
Yeah, so they just have a theme, and surprisingly, Sarah can remember at the graduation all these 23 different dogs' names. So it's an amazing process. If you know anybody that needs a service animal, definitely, we would highly recommend CARES in Concordia. So moving on with my report. We have started some collaboration with the Saline County Sheriff's Department at the jail. One of my staff members, Paula Morgan, is going over to the jail on Mondays and conducting different cognitive groups, things that we offer within our office. We're doing that to try to bridge the gap where maybe we can offer classes in the jail and engage people before they get out of jail and come to our office. Tina Miller and Marcia Crum at the jail have been very helpful with us to try to get this going. It's cumbersome because of the situation at the jail now, and we are hoping that things get a little more smooth once they move to the new jail. So that's kind of an exciting thing that we've started. We also have started a collaboration with Central Kansas Mental Health, where they have staff that comes to our agency on Mondays, and they do intakes kind of the same, trying to bridge the gap between our clients. Sometimes our clients aren't really good at follow-through. They get nervous or whatever about going to seek out services. So it's nice to have the mental health center in our office on Monday mornings, where they can get hands on people and get those intake assessments done, and then get them an appointment to come into the mental health center and get them involved in services. We currently have 400 clients. I put 401 in my report. That was actually the snapshot that I took that day. But we have about 400 clients in our adult intensive supervision division. That includes our active clients and our inactive clients, because we also have people that are currently doing a jail time, or they might be on courtesy supervision in another county. We have 90 clients in our drug court program. We have 135 clients in our pretrial program, which is the program that Saline County funds through our agency. We have 86 clients in our various programs that make up our juvenile division, and then we also have responded to 194 juvenile intake incidents. We take care of juvenile intake and assessment through our agency too, which is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week process. So in the last 6 months, we have had 194 youth that have received services through that. Our plans for the future. We have recently been involved with both Judge Peterson and Judge Johnson in the development of a Veterans Court and a Behavioral Health Court. Judge Johnson is kind of championing the Veterans Court, and Judge Peterson is taking over, putting in the works a Behavioral Health Court, both of which are really needed in our community. We have a lot of clients in our agency that we supervise, probably 20 or 25, who definitely struggle every day with ongoing chronic mental health issues. So our agency staff also continues to be involved with the ongoing development and implementation of the crisis intervention team. So that's a collaborative effort between law enforcement, the mental health center, our agency, all of us, including court services, are working together to try to enhance the services that are offered here in Saline County. In December, we are going to be hosting a small drug court conference where Crenshaw and Brian will be in charge of that. Brian is the supervisor for our drug court program, so he has put together like a little mini drug court conference. It'll be December 11th and 12th. Yes. So if any of you, it'll be at Camp Webster, if any of you want to stop by and visit and see what's happening with us. We have a couple of actually nationally known trainers that are coming, and you all approved us putting forth a contract and paying for those trainings. We have on the first day Paul Carey, who is going to be talking about toxicology, because we do run a lot of UAs and we have a lot of people that use drugs that are on probation with us. So we have a little 4-hour training about toxicology. And then all day on Tuesday is an officer by the name of Jeremy Galloway, and he's more commonly known as Tall Cop. He is coming to do a training, and he's very interesting. He comes to your community the day before, looks around at what's happening with drug trends, goes to vape shops and different types of things, and gets a feel for what's happening in the community. So we're looking forward to that training, and like I said, it will be at Webster Conference Center. So I will send you all a reminder in December in case you want to stop by and see us. We have started work on our application for special alcohol 888 funds through Saline County, so you will be seeing that come across your desk at the beginning of October. And last week we submitted our JAG grant, which is the Edward J. Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. We have received that grant in the past. I don't know how confident I am that we will receive it again. It's the monies that we use right now to pay for our UpTrust program, which is our messaging service. So as an alternative, I've been looking for some things that might be a little bit less expensive, just in case that grant money doesn't come through. On the budget update in July, we started receiving our allocations from KDOC, the Kansas Department of Corrections, and as you all know, that is the primary funder for our agency. We get about $2.2 million from them. So we've started receiving those quarterly allocations. I have also been notified by Ottawa County Commission that they are no longer able to offer financial support for our pretrial program. So this is a loss of $19,364 to the agency, so I've been looking at some other options to replace that funding. So their fiscal year, as does yours, runs from January 1 to December 31st, so we still have some funds coming from them to finish out this year, but in January we will no longer be providing pretrial services to Ottawa County, although we still provide probation services, just to be clear, because Department of Corrections funds that piece of our office. So
That's two different things, correct?
yes, that's two different things. Pretrial is funded through the counties, and because pretrial is not recognized by the Department of Corrections, so probation, all of our other probation services are funded through Department of Corrections. Do you have any questions?
Questions or comments from commissioners? I'll start with Commissioner Hay.
I just got one that, it's hard to believe we're already almost October over last year. Do we have an increase or a decrease in clients over last year?
It runs steady. You know, I looked at my numbers from last year, and it runs within 20 or 30, I would say, in each one of those divisions.
So nothing dramatic?
There's nothing dramatic. I think maybe our drug court numbers are down a little bit, but we've been talking recently about other clients that we think might qualify for those services.
Okay.
Our juvenile stuff, it really runs pretty steady. We don't have a lot of fluctuation. You know, you might inch up a little bit over the years, but I would say that our agency in the 23 years that I've been there has probably always been at 365 to 400, so right in that, on the adult side, in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sparks? Commissioner Shadwick?
Yes, the two courts that you talked about, the behavior court and the
Yep.
vet court, great
Yes.
ideas. Read a lot about that nationwide. Would that be funded the same way that we do the drug court, or?
So the, not really. The Veterans Court, Judge Johnson has been notified by OJA, the Office of Judicial Administration, that he is receiving funds for drug court. So once, or I'm sorry, yeah, for Veterans Court. So once we found that out, it became important for court services to kind of take the lead as far as supervision of those clients go, because they receive their funding through OJA. It just makes sense to do it that way. We would still be involved in the supervision of any clients that were assigned to community corrections, but and then when it comes to behavioral health, a lot of those clients are already being supervised by us. So while I feel like the city and the county would need to put in some service dollars for them, the majority of those clients could easily be supervised by us. I have a staff member who supervises a caseload of most of our chronically mentally ill clients, and she does a really good job and has been doing that for years. So I also have another client or another staff member who is part of the crisis intervention team, and she's very involved in the mental health center and recently got her master's in social work. So she has a master's degree in that type of work. So yes and no. I'm not sure that I answered your question.
No, that answers my question.
Yeah.
That's exciting news.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
there's some
assuming
OJA money for
the numbers would probably be similar to what the drug court sees, I would think.
I think that behavioral health court would maybe only be about 10 people, because there's some criteria that you want. I mean, you don't want people who are able to function without that extra structure. You don't want to encumber them with too much. So I think that there's those 10 or 15 people that would probably be appropriate for that subset. And then Veterans Court, I really think that, again, you have to qualify for that.
Sure.
And you have to be, there's different qualifications. So you would probably only see 10 people maybe in that, at least in the beginning. So it's hard to tell until you really get things going, because at that point you're delving into people's lives and figuring out, oh, maybe you do qualify for this program.
Next question is, suspended driver's license, how does that affect your job and how people get there or not get there, or?
So we offer bus passes to pretty much anybody that doesn't have the funds. You know, you can get a monthly bus pass for $35 a month, so it's a very nominal fee. If we have clients that are indigent that need that and can't afford to pay for it themselves, we'll provide them a monthly bus pass. I mean, $35 to get somebody anywhere they want to go every day of the week is cheap. So we have some funds for that. Driving while suspended has, honestly, I've worked in the criminal justice field since 1996, and I worked at municipal court before. That has been an ongoing issue because it is a snowball effect. You lose your license, and we live in a small town, and somebody pulls you over, and then you
because
get a
of a
driving while
fine, not
suspended.
because they're driving poorly. I mean, let's
Right,
just
because they
admit it
can't-
is because
right,
it's
you have a reinstatement
right.
fee, and you have to get an SR-22. I mean, there's just a lot of fees that go with it. Paula Morgan in my office, my staff member who also does our COG groups, regularly takes people to get their IDs. So we take care of that issue and pay for that with our funding. But that driver's license piece can be difficult. So it does,
It does. It does. And
it
Chris,
does, but people are good about getting rides.
good.
People are resourceful. Our clients are very resourceful. They can get where they need to be when they want to be there.
Because I know
So-
that group, Kristen Seaton and Annie Grievous, that came and gave us that presentation about a month ago about just small fines and what it's doing. And
Yeah.
Annie and I drove up to Lawrence to go see what they were doing about trying to restore some driver's license again. And it goes to the legislature, and I read about the legislature saying, "Well, we don't want dangerous drivers on the road." Well, they're not. I mean, it's because of fines. I mean, if it was drunk driving, no, you're not going to get it restored. If
And we
it's-
do have that. You know,
Yeah.
I can't deny that we have that too. I mean,
Right.
our agency takes care of third and subsequent DUI convictions.
Right.
So we do have those people that don't have a driver's license because of that. So there is
And they're not
that.
going to get those back from this program.
Right,
So-
exactly. Yeah.
that they're talking about. But anyway, yeah, we did that a couple weeks ago, and I think we had some good information. And so, all right.
Commissioner Weiss?
No questions.
Okay.
I have no questions, but I do have an observation, and that is your 194 incidents with the juvenile intake.
Yeah.
I mean, that's over one a day.
We do have a
Continuing
lot,
on.
yeah.
And for our juveniles to be involved in something serious enough for community corrections to be involved is troublesome to me.
As an explanation of that, that also takes into account those child in need of care kids. So you might have a mom and a dad who are arrested on drug charges, and the kids get brought to our agency. So that counts those kids too. So that is not 194 kids that got involved in the criminal justice system. It's kids from a wide variety
That
of
are-
things.
that are
It
brought-
could be
sucked into it.
runaways. Yes, it could be runaways that have come from another state. It could be runaways here.
Okay.
It could be runaways from St. Francis. There's those kids that are taken out of the home. There's kids that are put in police protective custody. So it's a little bit broader. It's not as criminal justice based
Well,
as
thank you for
our
that
other services.
clarification.
Yeah.
Michelle, thank you for your presentation and
job.
update, and we appreciate it very much. Thanks for your hard work over there.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to, and goodbye to Mr. Crenshaw. We'll move to item number 2.
County properties update with Philip Smith Haynes, County Administrator.
Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. So we have talked a lot over the last few years about changes to county buildings, primarily focused on building a new jail and sheriff's office and remodeling some courtrooms in this building. But we've started this year with a discussion about additional things that we need to do with county properties once we get these two projects behind us. So we've had a couple of study sessions, and I wanted to give the commission an update on where we were on just a wide variety of things. I will start out by saying I wish we were a little bit further along on some of these things. Some of these things have just taken a lot more time than I hoped they would. But one of the things that we had talked about previously was trying to get someone on board, kind of a consultant on a part-time basis, to help move these things forward in a more timely manner. That is one of the things that is proving to take more time than I had hoped it would. I was hoping we would have somebody by now. I do have a proposal from one firm. I have also gotten a resume from the other firm that we're dealing with, and hoping to set up a call with that person later this week or first part of next week. So that is moving. It's just moving slowly. With regard to improvements to the city-county building, there are a few different things that we've done to try and address space constraints here. One of the things is the rental at 203 North 10th Street. We still do not have the keys to that building. They're still working on the heating and air conditioning system there. My last contact with the owner of the building indicates that we're going to probably be able to take possession of that building October 1st, or that week of October 1st. So we've also talked with City of Salina again about doing a joint study of options for next year. I would like to, that's part of getting the consultant on board, is I would really like to have that ready to go in January. So get that prepared this fall so we can have that ready to go as soon as the funding is available. The other thing that we've done, of course, to relieve space in this building was to move some folks across the street to 229 North 9th. And as we mentioned to the commission in August, spring rains revealed that we need a new roof on that building. So we did send out bids, and those were opened on September 13th. We did have 4 contractors submit bids. The initial estimate that we had shared with the commission back in August was around $40,000. All 4 of those bids came back in excess of $50,000. So 2 of the contractors also submitted alternatives, which would be below the $40,000 mark. One was for removal of only the wet sections of the roof rather than a full tear-off and replacement. The other was to consider doing a flat roof rather than a tapered roof, but with the same warranty as a tapered roof. So one of the things that like to have some discussion amongst the commissioners today is any input on that, and then we would return with an RFA on October 3rd. We also, at the request of the commissioners in August, we talked with the financial advisor that the county's worked with on the jail bonds about the costs of doing a small bond for some improvements over at the senior center. We were very lucky when we did bonds in 2021. That was about the best interest rate environment that we could have possibly hit. That is no longer the case. So the annual payment on a bond of similar size to what we did for the fire radios would be about $20,000 more than what we're paying on that bond, just as a function of the change in interest rates over the last 2 years. So that's information that the commission asked for, and be happy to go into more details on that. The current jail, once the sheriff's office moves to their new facility, we're looking at reuse of that facility. We talked about a few different options, one being to have the North Central Kansas Regional Juvenile Detention Facility occupy a portion of that building. The commission agreed to fund the cost of an architect up to half of that cost, up to $25,000, to study that. I was in contact with the architect last week. He indicated that they will be done with their report probably this week, present it to the juvenile detention facility, and then present it to their board in October. Of course, Commissioner Hay will be there on that board next month, so we should have more information about that coming in the next 30 days. And then with respect to the office portion of that facility, our current plan is to relocate court services over there. We think the city still wants it long term, but they aren't really interested in kind of moving forward until we know kind of the bigger picture of where everybody's going to land. And so that's kind of where we are in that. We had also had a conversation with commissioners about some other properties that the county owns, two tracks that are currently, or two sets of tracks that are currently used for farm rentals. The first we refer to as the Kaywood land. It is down just off the corner of Ohio and Schilling. That there are two pieces to that. Part of it is was acquired for flood control. Another part was acquired in 2011, 108 acres. And so the commission tasked staff with finding out of current value on that if we were interested in selling it. We did engage a commercial appraiser who went out and looked at that and essentially said the value of that property has only gone up about $100,000 over the last 12 years. So, there's that information may not be worth moving forward with a sale at this time. The other county farm ground that we talked about is the land that was bequeathed to the county by Oliver Hagg a number of years ago. Couple of things we had advised the commission that a solar developer had approached the county. Actually, a couple of solar developers had approached the county about leasing some of that ground. So that brought up a couple of questions. The commission did hear a presentation from one of those developers. Staff followed up with Evergy. Evergy said they are sort of generally interested in solar power generation. They have a plan for so many kilowatts over the next, number of years by, I think it's 2035. And they do work with third-party developers, but they said that the timelines are not maybe as well, frankly, the timelines that you heard in June were just sort of wildly optimistic from that developer. That Southwest Power Pool, where they are right now, they're taking much longer to approve things. And so they also discussed, other RFPs that other cities and counties have put out for property that they own and how that could be structured. And so it was a very good conversation, but I would say, given where we are right now, just in terms of the time frames that Southwest Power Pool is operating under, the fact that the county doesn't really have zoning regulations related to large solar arrays, and that's something that Planning Commission will be working through over the next couple of years. And then all the other stuff that we've got lined up, we just think it's probably better to kind of push the pause button on any further development in that area for right now. We can always revisit it in the future. And County Councilor Mike Montoya is here as well, because I know the commissioners did have some questions as well about the extent to which Mr. Hagg's will is binding on the county. So Mr. Montoya could address those questions if needed. And then just a couple of other things to follow up, things that we'd mentioned in August. One, we have talked about roof repairs at Road and Bridge. We need to follow up with that contractor on the advice of Mr. Montoya to The radio signal booster at the new jail site, Turner was actually able to get much better pricing than we anticipated, so that's moving forward and not costing us anything additional, so we're very happy about that. And then 3, we talked with the city of Salina regarding outdoor storage for Expo equipment. We actually just had a conversation with the deputy city manager this morning about that, and we are going to be scheduling a meeting. So with that, that's the update. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I would be interested in, again, commission conversation about how we move forward with that roof over at 229 North 9th.
Mr. Chair, can I start then, if you don't mind?
Yeah, because my tongue's tied right now. So you beat me to it.
Well, you've got a whole bunch of stuff there, so I've got comments on multiple things. But getting back to your last comment is, and maybe we can't see this until we talk with the city about the big plan, but what do you see that building across the street doing in 5 years? I mean, being even occupied?
That's a phenomenal question, Commissioner. I think, given the space of that building, it is not ideal for long-term county usage. I think that one of the lessons that we've been reminded of, I guess it's not a new discovery, but one of the things that we've been reminded of as we've been having these conversations about where things go is the interrelatedness of county offices. And so it really makes much more sense from a customer service standpoint to have several county offices located together. And that's never going to happen at that facility just because it's so small. And so really, I think the highest and best use of that building long term is probably to knock it down and create additional parking for the senior center, redevelopment at the jail site, Memorial Hall, et cetera. I'm not sure if we will accomplish that within the next 5 years, just in terms of time sequence. I think county building, there will probably be some county function in there for about the next 5 years before we're able to consolidate it. But if you start amortizing, a $50,000 roof over a 5-year period, that's a considerable additional cost.
Right. But there would be a cost to moving that, like, to another facility anyway. I mean, there's maybe a $50,000 cost in moving to another facility because you're not coming back soon. I agree with you. In 5 years, that thing needs to be gone. So, I mean, how can you fix the roof to just last 5 years? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe one of the alternatives makes more sense. 40,000 sounds better than 50,000. That, again, that's just my thoughts on that building. So,
What are the guarantees on that, on the 40,000? I mean,
so we asked for a minimum, in part of the bid specs was a minimum 10-year roof, and one of the bids was a 10-year guarantee, the others were 15.
okay.
Any other comments on this? I'm gonna try to dissect this a little bit to where we just, on the 9th Street property.
Right.
You have something else, Jim, on the 9th Street?
I'd just like to say that we're in it now. We're using it to have water come in and maybe damage equipment, have water come in and have mold problems. We have health issues or something like. I don't know how we can not take care of the structure and keep the bones dry there. So that's just my input.
You have anything, Roger, on 9th Street?
I concur with that. We have to fix it. We got to get that fixed.
as we go forward, I would like to see that building, if we use the building, used for a single source, not 2 or 3 different offices, one single department or one single storage unit. It doesn't matter, but even if it is parking, we need to use it for one source. And obviously, we need space. We're going to have to do something if we don't, but we got to fix the roof. I'm sorry, but I don't see how we can get around that.
Yeah, and
I mean, I don't know how significant the roof damage is or the water damage or where it's coming from, but it's got to be fixed.
Well, that's why my question was 5 years, because
I agree with you.
he answered my question, and he says, well, we at least got 5 years left out of it, and so you have
Yeah.
to. I was thinking 1 or 2 years, then no.
And
You
right,
know, then
I
figure
would
something
agree
out.
with that too.
So
And that's not going to happen.
I hope you have some direction there at least.
Yes, thank you for that conversation. That's, I think, very helpful.
Jim, if you have want to open up another one on one of these topics?
Well, I think the K-Wood, I was a little surprised that there hadn't been more growth in value there over the past 12, 13 years. And I don't know how much of that land is in the floodplain that isn't really usable for anything other than maybe a grassland or.
Well, there's really 300 acres there, 298 point something acres, and the property to the east off of Schilling is really not usable for that's the flood control area. The property, the 108 acres that fronts onto Ohio, that is much more usable in terms of development. That is where the prior commission had originally anticipated relocating an expo center to that site or other uses. So that is buildable. Certainly, there are houses going up right now, immediately to the north of that. And it does have the advantage. I mean, part of the deal that was struck back in 2011 was to extend city utilities to that site without the normal development costs associated with that. So, I concur with you. Both county councilor and I were struck by the fact that there hadn't been more appreciation of that land over that time. Seems a little odd, but that's the appraisal we got. So.
Well, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the appraiser's correct. I mean, we may find a developer or someone who thinks that property is worth more money than that. And I want to, while we're at it, I want to include the Kaywood or the Hague land in the same conversation here because they're somewhat similar. I would ask the county councilor on the contract with the Hague land.
The will,
if you will, not the contract. Do we have the option of being able to sell that land?
Do anything you want with it.
Pardon?
You can do anything you want with it.
That was my understanding. And I will say this, that I think the county needs to get out of the land business. I think we need to do proper due diligence and sell both properties. So.
The Kaywood land, I understand that that's probably not long-term. There's two things that my thoughts on that is the value isn't going to go down. And we have so many more pressing issues right now that probably ought to be at the bottom of our list. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying as far as staff time, I mean, we haven't found that person that's going to be helping do this, and it just seems to me that that's just not very pressing.
True, but I will make my point, and that is the income that would be derived from selling those lands put on interest would far outweigh what we're getting from farm usage and farm income. Far outweigh that. So,
as far as getting back to the Hag land, Mr. Montoya, my question is, are we following his direction right now? I mean, are we, because
Well,
not being a lawyer, but I looked over that and I'm like, I don't know whether we're in compliance now. So.
Yeah, the way that was drafted in his will, he had some wishes and desires that it would be used for agricultural use, agricultural experimentation. But in the court order, the court determined that was just precatory language, which means that that was what his wishes and desires were, but it was only a suggestion, if you will.
Okay.
And so there's a specific finding in the journal entry that said that there are no encumbrances on the property when it passes to the county. And so I think the county's attempted to use, part of that income for agricultural scholarships and things of that nature. And so that's where you've been using that for. But in the end of the day, you're free to do with that property whatever you want to.
Okay, that's very helpful. Phil, you had talked about putting a pause on that land, and I couldn't agree more. I had not talked to any of my other commissioners about this, but my sense is that probably wouldn't get a third vote anyway. So, I mean, I don't know whether, without taking a vote, I mean, I'm not so sure. Yeah, we should proceed too much on that, so.
Any other comments regarding the land, the county land that is owned right now? Any other comments?
I will comment on the Oliver Hague land. I mean, it's like, and I've read through this many times, and it's, knowing Mr. Hague personally for quite a few years, good neighbor, but it's like, I understand what you're saying, Counselor, is that it's like, yeah, in the fine print, it says we can do with whatever he wants, but his intention was, and knowing him, is that his intention was for us to be stewards of that land and for agricultural usage and experimentation. The other land, the Kaywood land that is there, I still feel that personally that we would be beside ourselves to get rid of that, to even think about it, because of the situation we're in right now. Who knows in the next 20 years of what's going to happen to the Expo Center, what's going to happen with the sheriff's office over here, the old stuff over here. I mean, it could be that we decide to go make a brand new county building somewhere else, and we have the land available to do that with city sewer and water. I would think that would be in our best interest to keep a hold, and it's not costing the county any monies at this time to hold on to that. And so would be beneficial. But that's my thought process on the situation.
Well, if I might, since we threw the Oliver Hague land in, I'm not opposed to selling this land at some point, but I want a purpose for that. I want there to be a design of a path forward of here's what we want to do, and this is a tool to see that happen. Just to sell the land and put the money into the account to see spin on motor graders and such, I'm not for that. But I am for, if there's a purpose and a need, and that it serves the county better by selling it and using that to do something else, then yeah, I'm for that.
Phil, is there anything, let's see, what current jail, sheriff's office, anybody have any comments there?
I just got a couple of comments on, I know you said that the city has not produced a formal request for the space, and so we're looking at it for our court services. My problem is, how much of a renovation are we talking to get court services in there? And then are we going to lose that by fixing it up there so the city can take it over?
So the intent is to not renovate because court services, it is not our hope to have court services there long term. It is our hope to have court services there for sort of maybe the same period that we have 229 North 9th occupied, and then figure out where these things need to function. It goes back to my earlier comment about the interrelatedness of county offices. It would be wonderful to develop a purposeful justice center that would include court services as part of other judicial functions. We don't have the space for that to occur today, but I think that is the hope long term, and so would not want to spend much money renovating that space for them. It is set up as offices now. That's what they need as offices. I'm not going to sit here and tell you there won't be one or two walls that get moved in the process, but it would not be new carpet, new all of that. It would be, here's what you have for a couple of years, and then we'll move you somewhere else.
Okay, because like I said, my hope is, like I said, with this North Central Kansas Regional Juvenile Detention Center, once we get the paperwork back on that, I mean, we're spending $378,000 a year for the Juvenile Detention Center now, sending it to Junction City. So hopefully, something comes about that to where we can use that facility and bring that, it's still going to cost us money, but I mean, at least bring it back to Saline County. So thank you.
The study that we want to do with the city, what's the time frame on that? Maybe you said that in your discussion and I just didn't hear it, but.
So it's funded by both the city and the county for 2024. So we would like to get it, completed in 2024, which to me means having an RFP out the door before the end of this year, so that we have time to get responses back, do the, all of the things. And that's why I'm pushing so hard on getting staff augmentation on board to deal with that. I really think
that's just the critical piece to everything. I mean, almost a lot of these things can't be answered until that happens.
That's absolutely correct. And, I think there are two things that that I'm hoping to get by sort of what I'm going to call outsourcing that work. One is just more hours in the day, right, to move it forward. But the other thing is the firms that we're talking with, there's one firm in Kansas City and one firm in Dallas, and they both have networks of architects and space planners that they work with. And so I'm hoping that we can generate some interest in this project as well, because when we did our master plan, we had several folks who came to our Zoom call, but we ultimately only got 2 bids or proposals, and we were really disappointed with what we ended up having to choose from there. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to generate some more interest.
Yeah, and it's very important that we do work with the city on this. Generally, we're talking about the same taxpayer, so it's not our money and their money; it's the same taxpayer. So. A united front going, I mean, it's challenging. I mean, there's no doubt that it's challenging. It's just, but we definitely need their input, I think, for us to go forward. So a lot of these, I think, are just on the back burner for a while. I think the roof is probably number one, but the others, I don't know if what decisions we can make without that task force being sad.
We're out of room in the city-county building.
Yep.
There's no room here. We've got, 3 or 4 departments that are over there, not counting the court services, until there becomes a bigger project. Adding on to this building, building an entire new building, a justice center, whatever, that's where it's at with me. I'd hate to see us continue to use 9th Street, use 10th Street, rent another building over on 8th Street or something like that, just piecemealing things, apart. I hate to see us head that direction, but somewhere along the line, it looks like we're going to have to build a new building of some sort somewhere. All right, there are other things here. If people want to comment on it, we haven't said anything about the senior center project financing or the, I guess that's about the size of it, city-county building.
I'll say something about the senior center project. I look at that, and here again, it's up to us to maintain and keep our buildings that we're responsible for up and running and in good shape. I look at some of the problems the city's had in the past with tennis courts becoming dilapidated, and now we need new ones. And the city says, okay, you pay to build them, and we'll keep them up. Well, they had the others to keep up, and they were allowed to run down. I don't want to see our buildings run down. I'd like to see, especially the senior center, the improvements to the parking, and to get them a storage facility up and going is paramount for me. It's not safe for our elderly to be walking that parking lot. There's potholes. It's really run down. As far as financing it, I'm open to suggestions, but I think we need to keep what we own now up and running and in good shape.
I agree with Commissioner Weiss. I attend the senior center quite a bit over for meals. And if you sit and talk to the people over there, they got the same feeling. They're worried about the parking lot. They're worried about falling. They're worried about, the shape that is. I know that the staff over there, they need the storage, they need the space, and, I think we owe it to the senior center to, take care of whatever we need to do to take care of that place.
And I look at the action that we took last week. We had an estimate of $200,000 to do 1/5 of the work that needs done out at the road and bridge. This is pavement that dump trucks and road graders and heavy pickups are driving on, and we thought it was important that initially up to $200,000 we spent for those repairs. How do we turn our heads on the parking over at the senior center, where that is shared by 400 and some people a day?
Exactly.
I don't think that we approved that last week.
Well, we approved to let it go forward for study. You're right.
They can go forward with a proposal, but we haven't approved that at all.
You're right.
But your point's still well taken.
I'm sorry.
No, your point's still legit. That's a good point.
Anything else, Phil? I mean, is there something else that we haven't covered here, or other commissioners want to speak, or? Hope you have direction
we've
enough
got some things to move forward on. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll move to item number 3 then.
County Administrator's update with Philip Smith Haynes, County Administrator.
Hello again.
Hello again. Just a couple of things to mention. First, as a reminder, next Tuesday we will be meeting in study session. So we will not be back in this room for 2 weeks, and our study session next week will focus on the update on the vision that we've been working on, and I have reports for the commissioners. The other thing is that it is the time of year again to talk about legislative matters. We've previously mentioned the KAC's legislative platform, but I'm meeting tomorrow with local partners to start developing the community legislative platform as well. So I know we had talked about Magnolia as a significant push for the upcoming legislative session, but if commissioners have other things that feel like need to be part of that community legislative platform, let me know and I'll be happy to take those forward.
I have one that is not near as important as Magnolia, but it's the driver's license restoration project that I know that the legislature looks at. It just sounds like you've got a hardcore group thinking that that's keeping dangerous drivers out off of the road, and they keep framing things in that matter. Somebody that owes $100 that doesn't have a driver's license to go to work is not a dangerous driver. And but right now, it's almost impossible to get your driver's license back. And it's going to take legislative action. That's not something that we can do as a commission, so.
Where is our study session going to be at next week?
I believe it's over at the Health Department conference room.
This is one of the things that I get the most criticism from constituents, is that we don't do that in this room to where it's televised. So that's the end of that comment. So it's at Health Department?
And I've got the same comments too from folks.
Anything else, Phil, on the updates, your update? County Commissioner comments, excuse me, Jamie, stealing your thunder there.
I got a question you bring up. Do we not have an off-site that could be televised? Is this our only option now, as far as televising our meetings?
We have, so, in the past, we had arranged with, the Saline Media Connection to do some off-sites. Since we've moved to the current arrangement with the city for broadcasting, they, at least when they set it up initially, did not have off-site capability. I can revisit that conversation with them and see if they have gone down the road of developing an off-site capability. But initially, no, but that may have changed.
Item number 5.
Announcements.
Doesn't sound like there is any. Concept discussion.
Discussion of commission meeting schedule for 2024 with Philip Smith Haynes, County Administrator.
So, good morning again. So, it is getting on towards the end of the year already, amazingly. And so, customarily in December, staff is tasked with preparing a meeting schedule for the following year and bringing it to you in the form of resolution. There was some conversation during the budget hearing this year about whether it might be advisable, desirable to switch that up a little bit and perhaps go to some evening meetings occasionally. So I've just thrown together a schedule of what that could look like. So there's an attachment in your packet. The first is a calendar of if we just did the same thing that we have been doing for the last couple of years with regular meetings and study sessions, what that would look like. And then alternatively, if we were to weave in evening meetings occasionally, what that might look like. So obviously it's commission discussion and decision for when you meet, but I throw that out for discussion and be happy to bring back other scenarios or whatever, but pose that question to the commission.
I love the study session times that we have set aside because, like today we only had, 3 action items. I think that we gain a lot from that. If we can alleviate Commissioner Hayes and Commissioner Vidrickson's concerns about him being on TV, I'm okay with that too. So I just like the concept of having the study session. Where it is doesn't matter to me. If it's in here, great. If we can alleviate that, then I'm happy with that. But
I concur.
I was surprised to hear from the city manager about Saline County, for a size of community, has more meetings than any other
right.
organization within the state. I don't know what path the city is going to take. I don't have any problems meeting as we have in the past. I don't have any problems with adding some evenings to the agenda, but I think we need to address whether we could do more with less meeting times. Right. And just to throw that out.
Was his comments directed at the Saline County Commission?
No, it was they were doing a study for the number of meetings that they have, and they were the second most meetings held for size communities. Yeah, I hope I'm getting this right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Saline County was number one for the number of meetings they had for community sizes.
That's where you lose me when you continue to say Saline County. Does that mean Saline County Commission, Salina City Commission? You're just this
Saline
commission.
County Commission has more meetings than any other county commission or city commission in that size of community.
Most people our size meet twice a month or every other week.
And I'm wondering if that wouldn't be some type of an option. You know, like you said today, we had 3 items on the action items. I mean, is there times that we can fix that to maybe 2 meetings a month, maybe 3 meetings a month, instead of going through that? You know, we're really lucky. We sat here for an hour and a half, where, you know, you look at the city sometimes, and, you know, Monty knows as well as I do, we spent some long nights in meetings with the city.
You guys did, we didn't.
Yeah, okay.
It all changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on there 8 years, and an hour was normal. I mean,
Yeah.
It gets drug out by staff like
Exactly.
you can't believe.
And I think we're lucky in that thing,
Right.
because, you know, we've got the chairman that we've had is been able to move these meetings along and keep them at a short pace.
And we don't have the controversy that we had when I first started 9 years ago too, and we had a lot of faces out there that were upset.
And I like the idea of a few of the evening meetings. I think that it gives people a chance, you know, if they want to come. You know, we very seldom ever see a very large audience out there. If this will get a few more people at our meetings to see what we do, I think, you know, we need to welcome that.
Yeah, I'll take the other side on that. In 9 years of being here, I haven't had one person ever come to me and ask for an evening meeting. I won't be in an evening meeting, so if that's the case, it'll either be by Zoom or I won't participate.
And I just want to say, I can't believe that in the last 40 years, that this hasn't been brought up before, that they haven't looked into it or tried it, the evening meeting, because I've been told that it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all, because, and I have never, I'm like Monty, it's like, I have never been asked or discussed about, because I got a lot of people watching it on TV, and that's all they do, is they want to watch it and see what's going on. But those people that have a reason that it bothers them today, I feel that those people will be here. If it's going to bother them, they want to be here, they'll be here at 9 o'clock in the morning. Yep.
I want to preface my remarks about the number of meetings by saying I'm not proposing that. I'm just saying maybe we as a commission individually need to look at it and decide how is our time and staff's time best served by, if we can put in a little longer day and not meet as often, then we're not having staff down here every Tuesday. And I'm just throwing out for food for thought. That's all it was.
I don't disagree, and I appreciate you bringing that up. That was one of the reasons why I think we switched, though, to those study sessions, is we don't need to meet so much. And if we could have a study session every once in a while where real good ideas come out, then that's helpful. So
Well, if you recall, when we first, when 3 of us were elected to this position, we were meeting, and Monty, you were on the commission at that time, we were meeting twice a week, had 2 meetings a week, which was
silly.
I think that, well, I agree with you, but it also was a statute from the state that the county commission meets that often. However, you do have are afforded the opportunity to opt out of that, I think. I would like to see, for my own personal information. I'd like to see if you can find out for us what the 10 largest counties do, how many meetings that they're talking about. I think what'll happen if we cut this down is going to be criticism of our pay, but that's to be addressed at another time. So,
Well, another thing, I just sitting here looking at our consent agenda. Do we have to pretty much approve every week because we have accounts payable pretty much every week that have to be paid? Is that something that we would be able to vote on? And because I'm just.
I think it does. I will say organizations are infinitely adaptable.
Gotcha.
So I have been in organizations that did not approve accounts payable every week. They would do it once a month or twice a month. And you know what? Departments adapt to that and make their schedules accordingly. It is convenient for staff if accounts payable gets presented more frequently, because that you don't have to think so much about when the light bill is due, because you can get it on Tuesday, right? So but there are also alternatives that we have not explored that are a possibility. So for example, the study session meetings, we have purposely kept those for just a topic. There's no reason legally that you couldn't have a consent calendar and a study session, but just no action items, right? So you could go ahead and approve accounts payable every Tuesday, even if you were just doing a study session. That's an alternative. I mean, there are innumerable options, but I'd be happy to bring back any schedule the commission wants to explore. If you wanted to do more frequent study sessions, I could figure out what that looks like. Whatever you all want, I could bring back a proposal. Let's think about it for a while, but at least I think the chair has something for you, is just bring back what others are doing, and more information is probably always better. I mean,
agreed. All right, anything else? Anyone have any, commissioners have anything good for the order that they wish to discuss or bring up?
Nope.
If not, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn today's meeting. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.